Okay, morning guys. We're going to start off with today is I'm just going to go through the answers to the questions I asked you to do yesterday from your textbook. So if you haven't had a chance to do these all, have a go for a few minutes, okay, and then come back to this video and we're going to go through the answers. Now, even if you haven't managed to get through to the end because you get stuck, then don't worry about it. Mark what you can, what you've done, and then follow through the workings that I'm going to do with you because they'll be good worked examples for you. Now, these are quite tough questions, which is why I'm spending a little bit of time and attention on it because I want to make sure that you're in a position to get these marks. So the ones we're looking at are 7, 8 and 9 from page 141. And they're all to do with calculating acceleration because we now know there are two ways of doing it. Okay, so let's go first of all, question 7. So question 7, we're going to read through the stuff in the textbook, and then the idea is you list what it is that you know. In an exam, you can do the same technique, or you can get your highlighter pen out and highlight the data in the question as well. Okay, so question 7, it says a cheetah accelerates at 13 meters per second squared. So the acceleration, 13 meters per second squared. It says calculate the time. So that's our unknown. Taken to accelerate from stationary, so the starting speed is 0, to 16 meters per second. So the final speed is 16 meters per second. So the reason I've done this is because I now choose the equation that's got those four things in it. And that one is going to be the acceleration is v minus u over t. And if you've selected the right equation and written it down, you've already scored some marks in an exam. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute letters for numbers. So the acceleration was 13, the final speed is 16, the starting speed was 0, and the time, we don't know what that is, so I'm going to leave it as t for time. So I'm going to tidy that up a bit. So 13 is 16 divided by t for time. Now, I need to make t the subject of this equation. Okay, so you'd have done this sort of thing in maths. But essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange it. So the time is equal to 16 divided by 13. Essentially, these two have swapped places. So now I get my calculator out. 16 divided by 13 is 1.2. You'll get a whole load of numbers, but I'm just rounding it to 1.2. And it's time, so it's measured in seconds. And that's our answer. Okay, so the marks you get for this, you get a mark for remembering the right equation, you get a mark for substituting the right numbers for the right letters, you get a mark for the correct answer. So that would give you 3 in total. Okay, question 8 then. Same thing, so let's read it through. An aircraft has got a takeoff speed of 30 meters per second. So that's the speed that it leaves the runway at. So that's going to be a final speed. Okay, and obviously the aircraft at the beginning, it's stationary, so that's going to be 0 meters per second. So it goes from 0 to 30 meters per second. It wants us to calculate the length of the runway, so how far it's travelled. So that's a distance or displacement, and that's our unknown. If the average acceleration is 2 meters per second, so the acceleration is 2 meters per second squared. So this equation won't work for us now because we don't know the time. The time is not on our list. So we're going to have to use our other formula. And remember, this one you'll be given in the exam, given in a sheet in the exam. So you don't have to remember this one. So we do v squared minus u squared equals 2as. Same thing, we're now going to switch letters for numbers. So v was 30, it's squared, minus u squared, so 0 squared, so that's going to make our life a little bit easier. It's 2 times by 2 times by the distance s. Okay, so 30 squared, 30 times 30, get your calculator out, that's going to be 900. 0 is just 0, so we can forget about that. 2 times 2 is 4, it's 4 times s. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I need to make S, the distance, the displacement, the subject of the equation. So I'm going to do 900 divided by 4. I'll get my calculator out. 900 divided by 4 is 225. So 225 is equal to the displacement. Displacement or distance is measured in metres. So it's 225 metres. Again, this one here, you get a mark from getting the right equation, a mark for putting the right numbers in the right place, a mark for getting the right answer. Okay, so question 9, last one. Let's read it through. So a roller coaster this time, it's got an acceleration of 9 metres per second squared. So the acceleration is 9 metres per second squared. It accelerates from rest, so that tells us the starting speed is 0. Calculate its speed, so it wants us to work out the final speed when it has travelled 35 metres. So the displacement or the distance is 35 metres. So again, this time here, we're going to be using our second formula because it hasn't got the T for time. So write it down. So this time here, we don't know the speed, so that's v squared. The starting speed is 0. The acceleration is 9, so it's 2 times by 9. And this time we know this one here, it's times by 35. So we can do v squared. I'm going to ignore this one now because it's 0, so it plays no part in anything. So Daisy is 2 times 9 times 35. So we're going to get my calculator. 2 times 9 times by 35, 630. Okay, so v squared is 630. We don't want v squared, we just want v. So we're going to square root everything. So square root of v squared is v. 630 is the square root of this one. I'm going to get my calculator out, square root that. And that's going to be 25. So v is 25 and it's a speed metres per second. So this one here is a super hard question. So you get a mark for remembering the formula, a mark for substituting the numbers. You probably would get a calculation mark here because you've had to do square rooting, and then a mark for the final answer. So what I'm trying to show to you is that it's worth persevering with these questions. And if you take it slow, take it step by step, you may only get halfway through or 2/3 of the way through, but in doing that you've actually managed to score quite a few marks. So it's worth putting some effort in. It's worth persevering and even if you don't like maths particularly, just give it a go. So here we go. Mark your work, see how you got on, let me know, and on with the rest of the lesson.